All right, we are. What do you call this place, Jake? Where are we at?
This is the Ponderosa.
This is the Ponderosa.
Ponderosa.
Yeah.
We're in the Ponderosa right now, in southern Michigan, in Jake Ehlinger's Ponderosa. I guess that's what we're calling it.
Jake's little slice of heaven here.
Yep.
We got a lot of deer racks looking at us, and we just spent a couple hours, 2-3 hours
Went out and sweat together a little.
Yeah, we did
on a
sweat.
90-degree day. I got to grab my water here.
Did some food plot tours.
We did. This is my second time out here actually getting like the property tour, and it was probably 3 years ago,
Yeah.
which is crazy to say.
It was. How quick that went. Yeah. 3 years ago.
And we've stayed in touch and done a lot of things since then, and
Yes.
did some different collaborations. But this is the first time Devin's been able to be out here, which I'm pretty fired up about, because I go back and I'm like, Dev, you wouldn't believe this, that. And so it's cool to be able to now both have seen it. And yeah, I wanted to do the sit down, kind of just discuss what we talked about today. And if you would, can you just like remind people of like your story in terms of like, when you started living here, this was all soybean field, cornfield. There was no deer here when you moved in. Like, give just quickly get people on
So
board.
we bought this property 44 years ago.
Yeah.
1981. And, it was a typical southern Michigan property. The current landowner at the time never told anyone no that they couldn't hunt. So there was a lot of hunting pressure. There was no older age class deer on here. It was about 30 acres of tillable and about 35 acres, 40 acres of wetland and hardwoods mixed. Okay. And so, when I had a chance to buy it, and I had killed my second deer of my life on this property because the landowner gave me permission, and I just lived half a mile to the north of here as a kid growing up. So I was 14 years old and killed the button buck back here with a flintlock.
Nice.
But had an opportunity to buy the property, and my wife and I were both working and making money, and had a couple of young boys, and we're just paying outrageous amounts of income tax. And we were given a piece of advice by an accountant friend that said, "Well, buy a piece of property. In 20 years from now, you won't have any more money, but you'll own something." And he was right. He really was.
You'll own something.
You'll own something, okay? And he says, if you keep working and paying income tax, you won't have anything to show for that money. So we did. We made an offer and we bought the property and
Do you
lived
happen to
off of
remember
the property.
the price? Are you okay with sharing that?
Yeah, it was less than $55,000 for 68 acres, and people thought I paid through the nose for it.
That's
in those
incredible.
Days. It was 1981. We were just post oil embargo, all that stuff that was going on in the late 70s and early 80s. So jobs were hard to find. There was no credit. Okay, I had to get a land contract with the original property owners because there wasn't a bank that would finance bare land.
Isn't that crazy?
It's just the way it was then. But anyways, that's what got us to where we're at now. And we lived off the property for several years. But in 1998, we sold our home, which was on a small lake in Jackson County. And our goal was to build a house and live here on the farm, which we did. And my wife and I and my two boys helped me in the process build the house. And, of course, we hired subcontractors where we needed and that type of thing. But we ended up, we built this garage first and spent a winter living in this garage while we were building that house. And the following year completed the house and got an occupancy permit. And have lived here since 2000. So we've had 25 years of living on the farm. And that's when even though I was doing some habitat changes, once I lived here, it was you just walk out the back door.
Yeah, everything changed.
So I could really start applying a lot. And I didn't own any equipment, but I bought a tractor, I believe, in 1999 or 2000. I bought my first little small International Cub tractor. Came with a disc and a brush hog and a couple of simple implements. And then slowly over the years bought different tractors and moved up and have learned, a tremendous amount, through trial and error. And then, the timber stand improvements and the hinge cutting and the crating cover and side cover. And, my goal was to have a really good hunting spot here. You read the articles and watch the TV shows of whether it be Illinois, Missouri, Iowa, Kansas, the quote big buck states. And as great as that would be, and those states are awesome with what they offer, it was like, can I do that here?
Yeah, it was like a challenge.
So that was my charter, was to make the best habitat. And I was going to say the last young buck that I actively passed was probably about that 94, 95. So I had started passing young bucks by the time we built the house here.
Which was probably unheard of.
Yeah, it was. People,
at the time.
Nobody had video cameras back then with them, when they hunted. But I had, a simple little digital camera, and I would take pictures of some of the bucks I'd let go by, and I'd show it to family members or friends, and they're like, "What the heck are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I've killed those kinds of deer. I just don't want to. I want something better, and I'm going to wait." And some years the waiting was worth it, and some years I ate a tag. That's how it was, but. As the years went by, I got a lot better with the habitat. The deer definitely called it home, and I learned an awful lot from the pluses that I did for them. Yeah. And they taught me what not to do and what to do. If you can pay attention to what the deer are doing, you can learn an awful lot.
Yeah.
And some people are able to do that, and other people just walk by sign and just don't get it. And that's the way this world is made.
Would you say you got in tune with the deer at a different level once you started living here?
Yes.
Because when you're commuting, like you're not glassing out your back window and observing behavior and picking up on sign when you're taking your dog for a walk and doing those things. So living here probably had to be a big part of.
I was definitely learning a lot more at a lot faster rate once I was living here.
Yeah.
Just from observation and the fact that I was here more often, and it was pretty cool.
Did you ever think? I mean, how many years now has it been here? 30, 40?
That I've owned it?
Yeah, just been here.
Yeah, 44.
So did you ever think that it would be like when you started living in this barn and saying, I'm gonna build a house here and we're gonna put our roots down and I'm going to create this thing. Did you ever think it was going to be to where it is now?
There was a part of me that was the end game. Okay?
Yeah.
It was like, I'm going to make it the best hunting property in Michigan. Okay. And so that was always been my goal. And it was to take every piece of available habitat and make it attractive to whitetails, or make it, attractive to me, create screening. Okay. So deer can't see me. And create diverse different bedding habitats. Bedding can it's 12 months out of the year. It's not just the 3 months we're hunting them in the fall. So there's a lot of needs that deer have during the off season that require different types of bedding.
Yeah.
Okay. So that not. Will I say I'm a bit surprised? Yeah, I am, because it's really come out nice. Okay, you guys just walked it. It's a cool property, and it's also very accessible. I've made the access to the stands doable, low pressure. They've got their spots. There was a lot of the property we didn't see because I don't go in there.
Right.
Okay, that's theirs. The only time I'm going in there is when I'm on a blood trail.
Yeah, the majority of the property we didn't.
Yeah, we didn't see.
Yeah. By far.
Certainly over half of it, maybe 2/3 of it, right?
So, the good Lord has treated me well and has helped me learn and has rewarded me with the way things have worked out for this property. And the glory really goes to him. I'm just a function of what he's guiding me to do. So.
I love that. And we talk about that a lot too. He makes this all possible.
He makes it all possible. None of this could happen without him.
He's blessed you.
So,
when you look around here.
Man.
It's incredible.
I am blessed. Yep.
So of all these deer that we're looking at, can you point out to the first deer? You said it was that button buck. Is that what you told me? You shot a button buck with a flintlock out here?
Right. And that's not here on the wall, because that was back when I was still a teenager living at home, and, nobody saved deer heads, didn't do things.
Which one of these is the oldest? Yeah.
My first bow kill on the ground is this 4-point that you see right over the skylight right there.
Oh, wow.
On the ground.
On the ground, on this property?
Yes. No.
Wow.
No, I take that back. No, that's the one deer that wasn't killed on this property.
Okay.
That was on a permission property in Hillsdale County.
Wow.
Over by Somerset Center.
Wow.
I've never seen
He has no tines.
I was going to say,
Right.
he didn't break anything on that?
So
He had main beams.
He
and
looks
brow
like
tines.
he's like an 8-point. He's just got he's got brow tines, and that's all he's got.
in beams.
He's got big beams.
Yeah, he's got big beams. That's a heck of a year and a half, isn't it?
That's incredible.
Look at all the knurling on his bases too. Like that doesn't. Wow.
Okay, now.
So you can tell he had the potential. Imagine that deer at 4.
Oh, man.
He'd have really been something because he's pretty cool at year and a half.
Yeah.
So now that's your first one. Which one of these is like, I would say, most special for whatever reason? Is there one that sticks out? I mean, there's a lot of them in here. How many think are there? There's got to be
There's 68.
68 of them, and majority of all of them have been shot on this property.
Yes, yeah, all but that one right there.
All but that one. Yeah. So is there one that sticks out that's like super special for whatever reason?
There's this one over here, which I nicknamed Righty just because he was a deer I specifically hunted for a couple of years in a row, and he was a loner, and he was just a deer that did not spend much time in daylight. And he doesn't score really well, but he's 5.5 years old, and 235 pounds field dressed, and just the way I set the stand and the hunt, and yeah, it was very special. And killing him, that was sort of like, you go, well, in southern Michigan, you've got less than 70 acres. What is your chance of having a deer that you pass 3-4 years in a row actually survive to 5.5 that hasn't been killed, number one, by a truck or a car or local other hunters, because he's on a lot of other properties too. But it turned out that he spent a lot of his time here and ended up killing him. So that one's real special. Yeah. And this big 8-point over here is real special as well, because I nicknamed him Palomino because of his reddish colored cape, and he was just, again, if you would get 3 pictures of him a season, you were a lucky guy. Okay,
he was
just real standoffish. He never ever went, and I ended up killing him. I killed him with a muzzleloader in very late November in a food plot. All the things a wise, high-pressured Michigan buck never does. But he went to the one food plot that never gets hunted very often, and I just decided to go in late season with a muzzleloader and see if anything was back there, and sure enough, he came in.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Is that your biggest one over there?
Yes, he's actually got 13 scoreable points, but he's a mainframe 10. And he broke a little tip off of his right main beam. But yeah, that's a nice deer. He was like 21, and when he was young, or let me say fresh, he was like 21 and 4/8 inside spread. But of course, as they shrink and they get mounted, But yeah, he's a nice deer. So. He scores in the 50s as far as gross score. So
it's a beautiful deer.
First hunt of the season.
Is that right?
Yeah, October 2nd.
Wow.
Northwest wind, high pressure, post cold
That's your
front.
thing.
All those things I've
All the
told you
ingredients.
before that I will hunt. And the deer that I passed before I killed him was probably right about 145.
You were looking for him.
So
right there.
it was him or nothing. That was just how I was that night.
It worked out in your favor.
And it was in that field back there where I've got the pinch point and the cedar tree. Yeah. Killed him right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So pivoting a little bit, we just did the property walkthrough. Like right now, late July, like what should people be kind of thinking about on a big picture? I guess the better question would be like, what are you thinking about right now?
Yeah,
like in terms of habitat, like what is like
what's next?
Front of mind and next?
This is probably the biggest push at this time of the year for fall food plots. Depending on your soil and where you're at in Michigan, you're either planting, spraying, getting ready, possibly overseeding if you've got summer annuals like soybeans and corn growing. And now's the time to get seed on the ground or in the ground. And it can be all the way out to mid-September if you were doing winter rye, winter wheat, what they call greens and grains. So, depending on those species, you've got basically the next month to try and get fall annual plots. It's the most successful time of the year as far as weed competition. There's not near as many weeds when you plant now as when you plant like in late May and early June.
Right.
Depending on if we get consistent rain or not has a lot to do with how well your fall plot's going to do.
Right.
But, it's fall plots are important, and tonnage and having attractive locations that does, fawns, and mature bucks will come to because it's secluded and attractive and palatable food is a big deal. Now, you've also got to have security cover and bedding and all that fairly close by for them to spend their time to so they can get to that plot during daylight hours so you can have an opportunity to successful harvest regardless of whatever that deer is or age class you're looking for.
Right.
The other thing I focus a lot on at this time of the year is licking branches, licking vines. These bucks are about to shed their velvet in the next month. And when that happens, they completely change from their being in bachelor groups and being buddies to separating. And a lot of deer will shift from a summer range to a fall range of different bedding areas, different locations, different home ranges. So there's a lot that goes on. So you may lose some deer and you're going to gain some different deer.
Right.
But licking branches, licking vines, there's all, you can pull down limbs. I did that for years. I now use a lot of grapevines because they're just easy to deal with. They take a lot of abuse, and the deer seem to really, really be attracted to them.
So is that like a serious part of your strategy, those vines?
Yes, because I want those deer constantly communicating amongst each other.
So like in terms of do all your sets have a local vine, or is that not
every set, but just about every set near a food source has a vine or a limb? Okay, and 90% of them are going to be mock scrapes, ones that I personally did myself. Sometimes you've got the right oak limb and it's in the right place and it's right there on the edge of the food plot and it's a great scrape and the deer always use it. That's awesome. Okay, but not every set that I have, not every stand I have has a vine. But I would say 75% of them do. So that doesn't mean it's right out in front of me. It might be off to the side 30 yards.
So it's not that you're trying to get an animal to stop in a certain spot. It's more so that you want them communicating.
Yep, and creating a pattern. And one thing I've learned about licking branches and just the scent communication that whitetails utilize because of that overhead limb, that vine, is that mature deer, as the rut approaches, often scent check that scrape just like a bedding area.
Right.
They don't come to it, they don't work it, but they're downwind of it to see if anything else has been there recently.
Right.
They're just trying to keep tabs on the entire deer herd. And I've killed a couple of real nice bucks that were downwind 10, 15 yards of a mock scrape or vine that I had.
Yeah.
But of course, they gave me an opportunity to harvest them because they were scent checking that. And of course, they were closer to me than I expected them, but I wasn't complaining.
Do you think you can overdo it? Like, do you think I could have too many vines, or is not really?
Yeah, I think you can.
Because I feel like I have a lot of them. And I kind of, I like testing things, and some of it I don't really care, but I'm curious, I always kind of view it in two ways. Either you're trying to have deer communicate, like you said, but I'm often putting them in places where I'm like, if I can just get a deer to stop right there or come to this spot for a couple seconds, that can be the difference. Do you think that way?
I do, yeah. I think we were talking about it a little bit before. I think the mock scrape and the licking branch thing has become a little bit of a fad. Everybody's putting a camera over it and waiting until they're hitting the scrape, and that's when I'm going to go hunt them at that spot. And we were talking about just that the deer feel pressure when there's a camera over it too. So it was just interesting. I know this pivots a little bit from your question, but you were talking about putting cameras more in travel areas that are not, a little bit lower risk spots, but just to try to see if the deer are in the area, and then leaving those scrapes and the licking branches, leaving those unattended by a camera so that they feel comfortable there. Yeah. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have found over the years that cameras, whether it be a cell camera or an SD card camera, and there's black flash and there's red glow, and you can just go into all these different things. But I've just found that the presence of camera not every deer in the deer herd, but bothers certain deer.
Mm-hmm.
And so my goal is I just yank cameras from any place I'm hunting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, number one, you go before cell cameras were available. Everybody had an SD card.
Mm-hmm.
So you're either pulling the card or you're changing out the batteries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that means you got a human. And while human intrusion, how often do hunters really take the time and shower and clean up and make sure they're in scent-free boots? Not too often at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey, it's Saturday afternoon. It's mid-August. This is no big deal. I'm just going to go pull some carts.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't think much of it. But that deer that we're hunting, he might be in there at 2:00 in the morning. It's dark. He sniffs around where you stood and changed out the batteries and changed out the card. And it's not that he's totally avoiding the area, but he's learning more about you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just been my experience. And one of the reasons, as great as cameras are, I don't rely on it for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like a little woodsmanship.
Yeah.
I'm getting to the point where I just want to put them in a box and
Yeah.
put them in the garage.
Yeah, I'm not. This particular year, I'm just not that excited about putting them out. I miss the excitement and the mystery of wondering what's out there when I get in the stand a little bit. Before I started running cameras, you just didn't know what you were going to see.
Oh, yeah.
Well, here's this is something profound. I just had a thought. Before cell cameras, what you just explained, the getting excited part,
Yeah.
I would get excited about going to pull the chips on the camera, which is a correlation between what you just said. It's really fun just going out there and seeing what's in the woods.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's if you take the cell camera and put it into one big bundle and just throw that off the boat, and here we are, you're chasing that same high with an SD card camera and just going hunting.
Yeah.
It's the same drug. You know what I mean?
It is.
You're
It's
right.
the same drug.
For me, too.
What's on the card? Is it a 150 or
Yeah. The cameras, and particularly cell cameras, on a property that I don't live on, that I have the opportunity to hunt,
I know.
that I like because I don't feel as in tune with the property because I'm not there.
Right.
But my property that I live on, this year, I'm just not as excited about cameras. I have a few out right now. I've checked them one time. I just might not. I don't know. Might just wait and see.
I get it. And I have some real good friends that are great hunters, and they're pretty astute habitat managers as well. Okay. And we get into these conversations, and I would say there is a trend of going in that direction. I'm getting tired of constantly relying on these cameras, and everybody's pulled the chip, you plugged it in, and nothing there.
Yeah.
Folder empty.
Yeah.
What happened? Who knows what happened?
Had that sucker out there for a month and nothing's
there's
on
nothing
it?
there.
That's happened a lot to me.
Or they got a cell camera and they're getting 50 pictures a day, and they got a frickin' windy limb moving in the sun, and it's
all
just
been there.
frickin' flashing. It's getting all these pictures. So there's that side of it. And you're wearing down your batteries, using up your data.
It's
there seems
expensive.
to be a number of people now thinking, well, it's kind of neat to go back how it used to be. And you take how I've set my property up, and I've got some real good screening and entries and entrance and some bulletproof hunting stands that I really don't need. I don't need a camera. I know what's going to be there. I have a real good idea what's going to be there when it's prime time. And I've talked to you. I said, look, when the conditions are right, that's when I hunt these stands. If the conditions are right, I just don't hunt.
Yeah.
And so it's less human pressure. And the deer got it made, and they've got all kinds of food and all kinds of bedding areas, and they can spread out, and they're not feeling the push.
Right.
Okay. Where if you're in there when you shouldn't be, they're just learning a little more about you. Maybe you're running into him on your way out at night.
Yeah.
You don't need that.
Right.
So you have, it's kind of unique. Just using easy math here. 2/3 of your property is basically sanctuary.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
And that's towards the back, let's just say. The front is where you're doing all the stuff.
Yep.
That's where you're making it attractive, and you even said it out there, you're trying to pull the deer to you.
Right.
It's the spots that we were walking through out there, you were telling us, we walk the dog out here, and we mow the lawn once a week. You're out there, you're showing us. Can you talk about how you're how you segment that in your mind and how it's correlated to you killing deer?
think I know what you're asking me. So, yeah, there's certain things that deer get conditioned to. And I don't care where you are in Michigan, unless you're lucky enough to own 4,000 acres.
Right.
The deer that we're hunting on this property and you're hunting on your property exposes themselves to other humans in different locations. Mm-hmm. So they run into humans. Some are good experiences, some are bad experiences. Okay,
right.
You call negative experiences. And so I'm running a tractor, I'm running a ATV, I'm walking my dog. I mean, these deer are used to these areas where they can expect to smell human that's been walking. Right. I don't have scent-free boots on when I'm walking my new dog, Sophie, okay? Mm-hmm. I'm just out walking her, and she's peeing and pooping, and she's sniffing over here, and they get pretty darn used to it. And if you roll the clock back, I had Pepper, and Pepper was 14, and so, Pepper had a routine with me, and we walked the same exact spots every day. Mm-hmm. And literally 10 minutes from the time we'd walk, I'd look out the window, and there's a doe and 2 fawns and a nice buck out there feeding. They walked right over our tracks. They're used to us. So I do believe there's certain places they're used to running into us, but you take that deep into the woods where my rut stands are, which we didn't see. Yeah. I'm never in there. So if they today would smell humans in there, like, holy smokes, what's this man smell doing in here? There's never any man smell in here. That would put them on red alert, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's a buck, whether it's a doe with fawns, they're all going to be extremely nervous over what's going on.
So is there a rule of thumb, though, if somebody's listening, like, let's say somebody's got a 40, mm-hmm. Is there like a general rule of thumb of like, maybe you don't even have this thought through, but I'm just saying, like, is there like a general rule of like, like a third of the property that you can access, all the time, and that's
every
that designated.
Different,
yeah.
But I would say at least half, if not 2/3 of the property should try to be designated to be safe zone for the deer. So if you've got 10 acres, and we're talking about 3 acres that you can. Yeah. You can walk your dog and drive your tractor around and mow the grass, but hey, 6 to 7 acres you might want to leave for those deer if that's your goal. Okay.
Mm-hmm. If that's your goal.
Yeah. Some people that's not their goals. Okay.
100%. I didn't know if you had like a general rule of thumb in your property. Obviously, like you said, every property is different. This one has like a lot of swampy areas that you wouldn't even really want to go to anyway.
Right.
But it just happens to work out.
Yeah. It produces a lot of edge and a lot of transitional cover that goes from dry ground to wet ground. Yeah. So you get all that stem density and cattails and willows and things like that. So
what we just said there, that's kind of it's like a subtle thing, like every property is different, but like, no, really, like every property is so different.
Oh, they are. I've seen thousands, through my business, and it is just amazing that every time I go to one, it may have similarities to, 5, 6, 20 different properties, but it's still unique and all by itself. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Just look for good soil.
Yeah.
Make that your number one priority. Because you can do anything with good soil. You can grow all kinds of trees, all kinds of forages, and just all kinds of whatever Mother Nature, the natives.
It seems like every time we hang out, you have like one hot tip that sticks out. That might be it.
You look for good soil.
Look for good soil.
Look for good soil.
Everything else comes from that.
You want that black, rich, loamy dirt.
Oh, man. The handful of really good land managers I've met over the years that have hired me that are blessed with that incredible black, loamy soil, everything they do is just that much better.
It's easier probably, too.
Yeah. I mean, they just, great food plot success, bigger deer, bigger antlers, bigger bodies. When they go into a part of the woods and they do a TSI project and take out a bunch of big trees and medium-sized trees and do some hinge cutting, the flush growth that comes up. What happens in 3 months in that beautiful soil might take 2 years here on my place.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's one thing that I've learned on our property right now with all that clearing of the logs. Obviously, that's a part of it too. I think we did some excavating work out there, but the soil, like, it gets so hard.
Oh yeah.
That clay, like, you can literally hit it with a hammer. Like, no joke. Like, it makes like a hard noise.
I joke with friends. Clay goes from slippery mud to concrete.
It's incredible.
And you can't believe it goes from that slippery, like you could make a clay pot out of it,
yeah.
mold it. And 2 weeks later, it's like concrete. And you pour water on it, and it just peels right off.
It's wild.
We were pulling a disc on it, and we had a good friend of ours he's with a food plot company. He came out, and he's like, man, I've never seen, like, the disc is just bouncing on the dirt. Doesn't even penetrate. It doesn't even turn it.
Yeah.
It's just like super loud when you're pulling it. It's just wild. Like,
did you ever get some of that?
We did.
Cover crop planted, with it being the topography.
The
I bet a lot of these,
because
because we had these unbelievable rains this year. I bet you it just washed out a lot of stuff.
You have to go look at it. It did good in certain spots and not as good in others. But it was like the spots that were really, really hard clay, it didn't grow well. That's
where a drill would really come in handy for you. If you were there at the right time while the soil was still soft enough, firm enough that you could drive on, but soft enough to where your drill would penetrate an inch or so.
Yeah.
I think you'd have really good luck to no-till it.
Let's talk about drills, because that's come up multiple times in this day. But that seems to be your germination rate drastically increases.
Yes. Yep.
How much is like a drill? Like the drill that you have out there is nothing.
I'll tell you, the one I bought, it's a 5-foot drill. It's made by a company called Tar River. I believe that drill was $4,500 or $4,300. So it's a very low price point drill. There's a lot of good drills out there. Genesis, PH. There's all these different drills, and they run in that $10,000 to $20,000, and it's quite a piece of equipment. There's a lot of mechanisms, and there's a pre-cutting wheel, and then there's the coulters, and there's the seed boxes, and there's the indexers, and there's a lot going on. But that's the kind of money you're talking about. So it's a low-end price point drill, but for me, trying to justify it, I can go out with a disc, and I can disc it, and I can smooth it with my harrow drag, and I can broadcast and cultipack and have really, really good luck most of the time if I do it right. So, why would I spend this kind of money? But it's also an efficiency thing. I'm making one pass with the tractor. I'm not, when you're disking and dragging and cultipacking, you're making 6-8 passes before you're all done.
More diesel,
Yeah. And it's a lot of tractor time. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but hey, I'm trying to get everything done in a certain amount of time. So that drill, which is new to me. This is my second year using it, and there's quite a learning curve and getting it all set up. And it was a low price point machine. It's very precision. It's got a solid foundation. Some of them. It had these closing flappers. Most drills have what they call closing wheels. This did not come with closing wheels. It had these metal flappers with springs that dragged behind the grooves to try and close the grooves. And that's fine in your loamy, sandier soils, but it just doesn't work in clay and rocks.
Yeah.
Clay is formable. You cut a V groove, it's going to stay wide open regardless of what you drag over the top of it.
Right.
So my goal was to try and close those up. And so I designed my own closing wheels and pivot blocks and bushings and stainless steel shoulder screws and fabbed up a bunch of iron and then got these closing wheels on there.
That's a Jake Ehlinger thing, yeah.
Yeah, it is. And it just made a huge difference. It's really up to the germination rate of that drill. Okay.
I think we got to get one.
I think so too. Tar River's, it's that tiller I just got is a Tar River.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. They're a budget friendly type deal. And
is it basic stuff? Like it's not super complex?
No, it's not complex.
Just simple mechanics.
Literally I could spend an hour with you going over all the things to look for, how to set them, regardless of what seed you're using.
Maybe we got to get the same one just so we can collaborate.
And once and there's a lot, you go on, there's actually a Facebook group, a Tar River Facebook group, and it's really cool. People swap ideas and different things.
There's a Facebook group for everything now.
Yeah, it's just amazing, And it's assembled in America. A lot of the components are Chinese or Taiwan or which is unfortunate because I love to buy American made if I can, but I couldn't find an American made drill at that price point. And I'd run into several clients that had great luck with it. Mm-hmm. But because it's the way it is and it goes through a dealer network, it ends up at dealers that sell about everything. So the guy who's assembling it comes in a crate, and there's some sprockets and chains that need to go on. And I just have a feeling that whoever was given the tools, and hey, go put these drills together. Had never ever done it before, because
Really?
when I got my drill, and the first thing I did is took the covers off. There was a large sprocket and a small sprocket and a large chain and a small chain, and they had the large sprocket on the small chain and the small sprocket on the large chain. And if I'd have run that drill, I'd have ruined the sprocket and the chain.
So
it would have been a disaster. So somebody had totally assembled it wrong. But that was the tip on that Facebook group, was go through everything, tighten all the bolts, double check everything. And I greased the heck out of it and all that. So I mean, I take good care of it.
How long have you had it?
Just really 2 years.
Okay. And you like it?
Oh yeah. I just love it. I've gotten to where this drilling. And then I had a real good buddy of mine who's he's got a John Deere 2-row no-till corn planter. There's corn planters where you have to disc first, then there's true no-till. And he was buying a larger no-till drill. So he said, hey, I'd sell it to you for this price. So I bought that last spring. So I've had that now for 2 seasons as well. And I did a few very minor modifications, but I put more weight. Like, it's got a big 6x6 square header steel tube, and I filled that with concrete. And I calculated it out, and it was like 280 pounds.
I saw that chunk of OSB in the end.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. There's concrete in there. And that really helped because, when you're dealing with clay, like you ran into with that disc, you put that disc on your clay back at your place, and it just bounces. And you go, no. So there's certain times of the year when that soil's just right. You can go in there and you can work it just perfect. If it's too wet, it'll be a disaster.
Yeah.
But if it's just right, you can work it. And it's really hard to get there because, you've got a job and you got other responsibilities, and not all of us can get in the field when we need to.
So is the general, this is my general knowledge of drills, but like on a farming larger scale, right? Isn't the trade-off like you're not tilling the ground?
Right.
Right? That's the pro. You don't want to necessarily...
You're not bringing up all that seed bank like disking does and that sort of thing.
But the trade-off is that you're having to spray a lot more chemicals. Is that the truth or no?
No, I would say you're not having to spray more chemicals. You got to spray if you're tilling anyways.
So why doesn't everybody have a drill?
Probably the price point, the size of the tractor it takes. Minimum size of tractor. You better have a 40 horse.
But I'm talking on a farming scale. Like, why doesn't every farmer just drill it if you get a better germination rate? Is that why? Just cost?
Yeah, and I would say, I made a mention to you that as great as no-till drilling is, with clay, there is going to be some occasional shallow disking tillage use. Some people are using the new fad in farming is vertical tillage. Instead of discs that are at an angle, now they've got vertical. You just straight disking that just puts a slit in the ground. But the reason they do that is to get oil or water and air infiltration into that soil. So certain soil types tell you that after a few years of driving tractors and sprayers and no-tilling, that you are somewhat compacting that top surface. And then you got it.
Yeah.
Yep. And then there's, they call a hard pan if you use a disc or if you use certain type of tillages. There's a thought process that 6 inches down, 8 inches down, whatever that is, could be a hard pan where your roots come down and make a J hook because the roots would go, without much resistance, and they hit that harder, undisturbed soil. Whether that truly happens through the whole field, I don't know. But there's a lot to be said about no-tilling.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we did a couple segments in the field there about cover crops and that kind of thing. Would you say the drill in general has kind of taken your management strategy to another level in being able to, have a thatch bed and drill right into it?
It has.
Yeah.
It absolutely has. Yep.
Okay. Because you seemed really excited about some of the things that you've been able to do.
And it allows me to drill in annuals. Especially like winter rye, things like that, real easy to drill, germinates easily. And the beauty is once I have that and it's established in the spring, when I drill into that for my soybeans and corn in the spring, that's where the real benefit is. because now I've got a very moist seed bed. It's weed free. Yeah, it's got a cover crop in it, but it's pretty much weed free. And now my inputs, my fertilizer inputs, are going down because I've got plants and forages growing in there that are creating the fertilizer that these seeds that I'm putting in the ground require.
Right.
So it kind of makes this circle. You know, you plant this and it benefits this crop, and you plant this crop and it benefits that follow-up crop. And you do enough years
it
of
compounds.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're literally composting, but you're doing it at a micro level on top of the soil.
That's a really good way to look at it.
It's pretty neat.
Do you think two guys could easily share a drill? Like,
Oh, I think so, yeah.
For a couple
especially
of small
if you're
properties.
close. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, if you guys are close to one another.
We will be.
That'd be awesome to share a drill. And, you know, it's just, you know, like with any kind of planting, if I've seen a mistake that people make, it's they go too fast. You know, they disc too fast, they seed too fast, they try to cover it too fast. So the same thing with drilling. You've got to go slow, and you cannot turn with a drill.
You got to
lift it up and then set it back down. I mean, you can't turn with a drill, or you're going to break your drill. And once you start breaking stuff, then you're going to go, oh man, you know, we're in trouble now.
Yeah.
We should just get a drill and maybe even bring it over here and get a lesson, or just get a lesson on his.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Or I could come over and just work with you, help you set it up first time.
That'd be fun too.
It's really. I'm very pleased for the amount of money I spent on it, and for how much. I mean, I've planted, I'm going to say, 8-9 acres with it this year.
Wow.
And it's been flawless.
Do you have some of those mods here?
Yeah.
We should just do that.
Yeah.
Well, for the sake of time, does anybody have any glaring thoughts or anything they want to say here before we're going to end up doing 3 different segments that we recorded in the field.
Yeah.
So following this podcast, we're going to have next week a hard hitter of a hot tip that Jake had, followed by another one, followed by another one.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool. We tried to do that out in the field. We've never done anything like that where it's like we're in the middle of doing something, but wanted to like somewhat
get our current
gather
thoughts
that,
at that time. Yeah.
gather that moment.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was. I'm curious to see what people think of it, but is anything on anybody's mind here?
Closing thoughts for me. I mean, I'm just grateful that you were able, willing to show us that. And I think the timing of this coming out with fall plots and stuff, coming to a head here it's just super relevant.
Yep.
And then I know we kind of got in the weeds there on talking about drills, but it's something that's been on our radar for a little while. Like
right.
I've been planting food plots for probably 5 years. Everything thus far has been either a tiller or a disc, broadcast seeding, drag some dirt over it, and call it good. But I'm at a point where I'm trying to take my property to another level and have been considering that. So seeing what you've been able to do with the drill this year, coming out of your CRP contract and stuff, was super interesting for me.
Yeah, it's been,
and it's just so exciting because it's just this never-ending compounding cycle of improvement.
Yeah, it is. It's like, it's just another. You've climbed another rung in the ladder. You've gone from the broadcasting, and as good as that is, now I'm using the drill, and I'm able to be more efficient, and I'm watching the soil conditions. And the greatest thing about that drill is it drops the seed. And it, when it closes, it cuts a groove in the soil. It drops a seed. It closes that up, and you've hardly disturbed the soil all that much. And your germination rates just go through the roof.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be interesting too. Like I'm just thinking of your property specifically in the back this year, where the soybeans didn't do anything.
Yeah, the
like
beans,
that would have been 90%.
I think
better.
that was a mixture of inconsistent seed depth and then weeds absolutely taking over.
Oh
yeah.
man!
And I tried to keep on top of them with spraying, but it just didn't. I don't know. There could be other issues.
I think to in your defense, and I communicate with literally dozens and dozens of people on a weekly basis. We've had so much rain this year, which thank the Lord, it's been a great year. Lots of moisture. Things have done well.
Which is also going to correlate to big bucks too.
Oh yeah, we get a lot of antler growth because everything's green and things are growing great in the woods. But that also means a lot of weed growth. Okay, I mean you're going to have weed and grasses where you never had it before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And-
it
and
was
I did-
overwhelming.
I did. Yeah.
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 But anyway, I think a drill is in our future, and I think it'll be a cool thing to document. You know,
sure.
in comparison to stuff that we had previously broadcast seeded. And
We've built up our equipment too, like
yeah, it's over
tractors,
time, right?
and you just start to
implements and
get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a neat, I mean, you guys are young guys. If you get involved now, gosh, you'll be so successful. You'll be able to do so much more.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw some of my plantings were somewhat strategic.
Oh, yeah.
I run corn at a certain angle and leave openings, and
Yeah.
well, you can do that with a drill because it just puts the seed right
you
there.
can sculpt the property a little
yes,
more.
You can. You
It's
can really
not
do
ma-
some neat
yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So
My kind of closing thoughts, like, it's just special. I don't know if it's we're getting old and we got kids and stuff, but like he and I are about to pop out. Well, I guess we're not, but our wives are about to pop out and another human into the world here. But it's just special when you actually get the time to do stuff like this anymore.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's not, even though we're pretty close and where we live too, but it's special when you can get together and
It
just
is.
talk deer, and even if it's only for a couple hours, like it's a treat. So
Well, you hear this said by so many people. Life is short, and time, and everybody's got time, but everybody's busy. And I can just tell you, in the last 2 weeks, someone exactly the same age as me, good friend, passed away out of nowhere. So I mean, make every moment a good moment
Yeah.
because you just
just
never
don't
know when
know.
it'll be the last time.
Yeah.
Every time's a good time.
Makes you appreciate
Every
the little
time.
It really
things.
does. Yeah.
Well, we value the friendship, Jake, and I don't think that this friendship's going anywhere, and I'm excited to see where it does go.
No,
Maybe
I enjoy working with you. And it's really been fun meeting you and just kind of watching the evolution of you guys as company, and you're doing so well. And I always mention you guys
That's
to
awesome.
people. I say, man, you've got to check out their gear.
Yeah.
They've got some great gear, and you got some great gear.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. We appreciate that.
It's-
got a
it's
cool-
mutual. So thank you.
There's a next chapter that's going to be
Announcing soon.
that's going to be exciting as well for both of us. So I'm excited for just the future, and But I guess to really tie this off, we mentioned it, but there's next 3 weeks there's going to be 3 hot tips in the field when we're sitting there in the corn, in the beans, in the grass, talking about some different hot tips you guys can utilize going into the fall to help your properties and your management. So anyway, appreciate it, everybody.
Shoot straight.
Shoot them straight.
All right. Yeah.
Until next time, thanks, guys.
See ya.
See
All
ya.
right. See ya.